Hello, and thank you for tuning into the pod. The next few episodes will be a little different because Endgame is on the way, and I didn't want to just recap every movie for 21 podcasts. I didn't want to tell you which movies to watch before Endgame because I did that for Infinity War, and I see a lot of people are just watching a movie every day, and I didn't want to do that. So instead, I just decided to group the movies together, not in phases. I haven't talked about like Iron Man 1, Iron Man 2, so I grouped them: the Iron Man trilogy, the Cap trilogy, the Thor trilogy. I did it like that because it gives me a chance to talk about the things that I liked in those movies and I disliked in those movies. So it's just my thoughts on all the Marvel movies, but rolled up into about 10 podcasts, not 21. So I hope you guys enjoy and listen, like, comment, and subscribe, and let's get to it. Hello, and thank you for tuning into the pod. This is the road to Endgame, and on today's episode, I will be talking about the Thor trilogy. I already spoke about the Iron Man trilogy and the Captain America trilogy. The Thor trilogy, there's a lot of mixed feelings going on with this trilogy in particular. Starting with the first movie, I like the approach that they took with Thor. Yes, he's a god, but they made it small scale for us to get a better understanding of Thor the character. Like, think about it. It takes place in New Mexico. Like, out of all places you could have sent Thor, he went to New Mexico. So they went for small scale. And the stuff on Asgard is great. I really love Odin and his performance in this. Chris Hemsworth as Thor is great. Of course, Tom Hiddleston as Loki is great. And I like the approach. It was just some mishaps. Like, the fighting wasn't great. And it left you wanting more for Thor, like for the character he is. And we'll talk about his sequel in a minute, but I enjoyed the majority of the movie. I really think my favorite scene is when, he's always talking about his hammer, and the hammer is at S.H.I.E.L.D.'s facility, and it's raining, and that's when you get your first glimpse of Hawkeye, and he goes to pick up the hammer, and he can't pick it up because he's not worthy yet. And I really appreciated that scene in this movie because it made Thor a better person, going forward, so he could be a better hero, a better king, for his people. Odin punished him so he can get out of that narrow view that he had. Thor just wanted to focus on battle, conquering worlds, and this lesson opened his eyes that there's much more to do, especially if you're going to be king of Asgard. So the banishment worked on the level of just getting us to understand Thor and having Thor look mortal. But like, the Destroyer wasn't very interesting. The Warriors 3, they weren't very interesting to me. The whole love dynamic between Thor and whatever her name is, the Doctor, it wasn't that great, that interesting. Of course, Natalie Portman is a great actress, but just the chemistry didn't seem like it was all there. I liked Darcy, the assistant. I liked her. I liked Dr. Selvig. They were funny, and they work well with Thor. It just, the Natalie Portman character just didn't work that well for me. But in terms of a first movie, I like Thor a little bit more than the Captain America movie. It's not Iron Man, but I probably like Thor a little bit more than the first Avenger movie, Captain America. Moving on to the sequel, Thor: The Dark World, and this is probably the worst sequel in the MCU. It's at the bottom of the barrel. It's down there with like the Incredible Hulk in terms of movies. It's not good. The villain, I can't even remember his name. He's not memorable at all. Like, the fact that they had an Infinity Stone, the ether or whatever. They could have done so much more. He could have been a better villain, but it was lacking all around. The same people are the ones that you watch the movie for. Thor, Loki, Odin, they're great. You get your emotional scene when Thor's mom dies, and when you think Loki dies. That was emotional. But in terms of the fighting and everything else that was going on in this movie, it was all over the place. It wasn't a great sequel, and it left Thor in a weird place because everything else was hitting for Marvel in terms of not just making money, but like the criticisms of movies. Like, people were liking the other movies that came out, despite, some mishaps with like Iron Man 2, they wasn't too sure about that. But like this movie was just like, ooh, we don't know about Thor. Let's go in another direction and see how other things work out. It took a while for Thor to, finally get back in good footing. And he was good. Like, the first Thor was solid, then he was good in Avengers. So this movie could have took him to the next level, but it kind of hindered him and the character and the franchise, because it wasn't that great, honestly. And to me, it's at the bottom of the barrel in terms of MCU movies, and it's the worst sequel out there, in the MCU. But enough about that terrible movie. Let's move on to a fantastic movie and an epic comeback, Thor Ragnarok. Now, this movie, it just, forget Dark World. Like, it brought Thor back in a hell of a way. Like, I don't know anyone who dislikes this movie. It's funny. Thor is powerful. The characters are great. The Hulk is there. Loki is there. Hela is there. Odin was there briefly. But it just worked. The thing I hear people complain about the most is that the Warriors 3 got killed really fast. Just boom, 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 they're dead. But the movie is about Thor. And it's about his journey. And it has a little bit of Iron Man 3 sprinkled in there because he's always talking about his hammer. And his hammer gets destroyed early on. So now he has to adjust and adapt and realize it's not always about the hammer. And it's the same thing his father was telling him, when after, I believe, Hela stabbed him in the eye. He said he wasn't strong enough. He's not as strong as Odin. And Odin was like, you're stronger than me. And that allowed for some cool action sequences with Thor and the lightning, without the hammer. Sure, it's probably easier to channel things when you have the hammer, just like in Infinity War. But he had to dig deep and realize that it's not all about the hammer. Just like Tony had to dig deep and realize it's not all about the suits, the Iron Man suits. But Ragnarok was a total 180. Like, everybody loved Thor after this movie. It's kind of like Winter Soldier. After Winter Soldier, a lot of people just really love Cap. Like, oh, Cap is nice. I respect Cap. Same thing with Thor. Like, I don't know if it was the comedy. I don't know if it was just adding the Hulk in there for this buddy cop superhero movie that we had, and it just worked. Everything worked in this movie. The Grandmaster was funny, weird but funny. Valkyrie, a lot of people love Valkyrie, strong female character again. It was everything we needed for Thor, for him to bounce back, for him to be a lovable character again, especially after what happened in Dark World. And just seeing Thor and Loki work together, it was something like that we all wanted to see. Like, we knew Loki was bad, but Thor had a soft spot for him. But it was, and they worked together in Dark World, and it was just seeing them work together and Thor being ready for his tricks and everything. Hela wasn't the best villain, but she killed people, which I appreciate as with villains. Like, they talk and then they walk the walk, and they had to call in the big guy at the end to destroy Asgard and everything. But it was so much fun. The music, everything was fun about this movie, and it was a change for Thor. It was something different that we needed for Thor. And again, like I say about all the trilogies, I don't know if we're getting a part 4 for anything, but Thor went out on a high note. If that was the last solo Thor movie, he went out on a high note. And of course, you've seen what he did in Infinity War. So Thor is only ascending in terms of popularity with the community. And Ragnarok is the movie to watch if you want to really appreciate Thor and who he is as a character. He still has his soft moments where he he's feeling down and everything. But with the Hulk being there and Bruce Banner, it all just comes together and it works. It shows his play. He can work well with others. He can be the lead by himself, and he can just dominate. In terms of movies, ranking the movies, the trilogies, of course, Ragnarok is number 1. Thor, the first movie, is number 2, and Dark World is just, it's not even on the list right now, but it's at the bottom. But Ragnarok is really, really fantastic and one of my personal favorites in the MCU. But that's it for this episode. Let me know your ranking of the Thor movies, the Thor trilogy. Do you really like it? Where do you rank these trilogies? Cap trilogy, Iron Man trilogy, Thor trilogy. Where do you rank them? 1, 2, and 3. I believe Cap has the best movies because 2 out of 3. And Thor's lacking with Dark World, and Iron Man I think is solid all around. But thank you for listening. Deuces.